What's up, everybody? Jerry Scalato here with another episode of Thrivology 101. And today I want to continue the Aging Myth series that we started a couple of weeks back. Today we're going to talk about myth number 2, and that is that it's inevitable that you're going to develop a chronic disease as you get older. So what is a chronic disease, so that we can get a little clarification so that we know what we're trying to avoid? A chronic disease is something that develops over time. Typically it develops at least years, but usually decades to develop before you see symptoms of the disease. A couple of examples of chronic diseases. Mental chronic diseases are things like dementia and Alzheimer's. Those things take decades and decades to develop. Research is starting to show that Alzheimer's develops 25 to 30 years before you start to see symptoms. Some other examples of chronic diseases are things like heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Again, those are things that develop over time. Type 2 diabetes can develop at a super young age. There are even teenagers, youngsters that have type 2 diabetes. That's a whole nother talk in and of itself. But nonetheless, typically these things take years and sometimes usually decades to develop, which is why they're called chronic diseases and not acute diseases. So with that being said, how do chronic diseases develop in the first place? Well, if you look at our society today, we are a very sedentary society. And it doesn't matter if it's a mental chronic disease or a physical chronic disease or a physiological chronic disease, something internal. Most of the chronic diseases that we have today are either a case of our sedentary lifestyle or our eating habits. So our sedentary lifestyle, you can develop mental chronic diseases from our sedentary lifestyle. Because you don't move, your brain and your body are connected, and when you don't move, your brain doesn't get utilized properly. It doesn't get utilized in the maximal way. Reading, learning, pushing your brain in that sort of way certainly helps minimize and reduce your risk of developing things like Alzheimer's and dementia, but not moving is a big way to increase your risk of developing even dementia and Alzheimer's. Of course, physiological heart disease is a big thing that can develop from not moving. Also, heart disease can be impacted from your nutrition habits. Type 2 diabetes, as we well know, can be impacted, is the impact, if you will, of your nutrition habits. Not moving does play a part in that, but your nutrition habits play the biggest part typically in type 2 diabetes. And like I said, heart disease is a big one as well. If you don't move often, then your blood doesn't flow the way that it should. Therefore, your heart isn't utilized to the full, to the max. Also, whenever you don't eat correctly, plaque buildup, all that fun stuff that we don't really need to get into, but those things definitely play a factor. Not moving, your nutrition habits, and also the amount of stress that you have in your life. So even though we don't move often, we do have a lot of emotional stress in our lives, be that from work, be that from family, be that from whatever other aspect you might be getting stress from. Most of us have a pretty decent amount of stress in our lives. So with that said, what are some things that we can start to do to reduce our risk, not eliminate, reduce the risk of developing a chronic disease as we get older? There are 3 things that we're going to go over. These are very broad, but I'll give you a couple of more specific strategies that you can utilize within each one. So the first thing that you can do, since we just got finished talking about stress, is de-stress, and more specifically, change the relationship that you have with stress. So there's some research that's starting to show that it's not only the amount of stress that you have in your life, but it is the relationship that you have with the stress in your life. We're all going to have stress in our lives always. It's not going to go away. You can certainly reduce it to some extent, but it doesn't matter. It's probably not going to go away. With that being said, you can change the relationship that you have with it. So in Kelly McGonigle's book, The Upside of Stress, I believe is the name of the book, she talks about the difference between a helpful mindset with stress. I don't think that that's exactly how she puts it, but a helpful mindset and a demoralizing mindset. Again, I don't think that she uses those terms, but in any sense, a helpful mindset, when you have that kind of mindset with stress, then you believe that the stress that you have is going to make you a stronger person. It's going to make you stronger mentally. It's going to make you stronger physically. It's going to make you better in the long run. When you have a demoralizing feeling about stress, that's when it has a bigger impact on you in a negative way. That's when you feel like the stress that you have is hurting you, it's hindering you, it's tearing you down. And when you feel those things, then it has a much bigger negative impact on your mind, on your body, and just overall. So shifting your mindset from stress is bad to stress is good for me and I can utilize it to get better is certainly going to be a big way for you to help change your relationship with stress over the long run. The second thing that you can do is eat mostly whole foods. So I'm not going to get an argument about nutrition. This isn't about keto, fasting, anything like that. Those things are all great, but the thing that I want you to focus on whenever you're talking about nutrition is eating primarily whole foods. Research consistently shows if there's one consistency, it doesn't matter if you're a paleo person, it doesn't matter if you're a primal person, it doesn't matter if you're a vegan, vegetarian, it doesn't matter who. If there's one major consistency is that you should eat primarily whole foods and eliminate processed foods as much as possible, okay? When a food is processed, it is stripped of its nutrients and it just doesn't have much utilization in your body. So whole foods, veggies, yes, fruits, yes, meat, yes, all of those good things. Eat them. If you're a vegetarian, fine, no meat, eat more fruits and veggies. If you're a vegan, fine, no eggs, eat more fruits and veggies. Make sure you're figuring out how you're getting your protein in if you are a vegan or vegetarian, but nonetheless, eat more whole foods. That is definitely going to be key as you age and as you get older in reducing your risk of developing chronic diseases. So that's the second thing that you can do after de-stress and change your relationship with stress, is eat more whole foods. That leaves us with the third thing that you can do to help reduce your risk of developing chronic disease, and that is move more often and exercise often. So fitness is not only about exercise, fitness is also about movement. Most people relate fitness directly to going to the gym or going to a class or going somewhere to do 60 minutes of something, be that dancing, be that yoga, be that a high-intensity interval training class, and then being done for the day. That's what most people relate fitness to. But fitness is about much more than that. You being fit to live life is about much more than just going to an exercise class 3 days a week. Is that better than nothing? Absolutely. Absolutely. That is better than nothing. However, you need to move often. One of the best ways to help you move more often is develop what I like to call a movement hygiene practice. So this is the practice of setting a timer every 25 minutes throughout the day. 25 minutes, the timer goes off, you get up, you pick one exercise to do, and you do 5 to 10 reps of that exercise. Maybe it's push-ups, maybe it's squats, maybe it's squat jumps, maybe it's burpees, maybe it's a 30-second plank, whatever it is. You pick an exercise and you do it every 25 minutes. And that way, you're not relying on that 60-minute block of time only. Exercise is wonderful. It is a great thing. It is what we do here. It would not make sense for me to tell you to not exercise. You should definitely do it. You should exercise 3 to 5 days a week. Yes. However, you also need to move more often. Implement the movement hygiene practice, put that into your life, and it will have a significant impact on your energy. It will have a significant impact on how you feel, on how your joints feel, on how your body feels. And it would not surprise me at all if you start to lose weight and lose inches, simply by getting up every 25 minutes and doing some sort of exercise. One exercise. That's all you need. One exercise. Do 5 to 10 reps. So those are the 3 things that you can do to reduce your risk of developing a chronic disease as you get older. Do not fall into the habit of believing that you have to get sick as you get older. Yes, as you get older, your body is more seasoned. So you do increase the likelihood of developing a disease as you get older. However, these are the things that you need to do in order to mitigate the probability of that happening. I think that sentence made sense. So do that. De-stress. Change your relationship with stress. Make sure you're eating mostly whole foods and move often and exercise often as well. Do those things and you will feel much better not only today, but 20, 30, 40 years from now as well. Thank you so much, my friends, for checking out this video. Make sure you leave comments, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. Let us know if you have any questions. And until next time, my friends, here's to your success in fitness mastery.